Hi, I'm Lori Pine, the Joy CEO, and I'm so glad you are here with me today. We are going to talk about joy and the power of joy in leadership. It is not fluff. It is actually the secret weapon to bring you more of what you want in both your personal life and in your professional life. So if you've been with me for the last few weeks, you know that we did a 3-part series. And we really talked about some really amazing things. We've been on quite a journey together about shedding what no longer serves us, sitting in the uncomfortable runway of what might be next. And I shared with you that I have sat on a runway for 3 full years. And then finally, this idea of taking flight when you're really ready to go and off to that next journey. And if you're brand new around here, welcome. I'm so glad to have you. This is perfect timing because what we're talking about today works whether you're just stepping into something big or you've been building some momentum for a while. Today, we are going to talk about the fire, specifically the kind of fire that comes with this moment that we're in. And let me just remind you that we are in this moment of this fire horse energy as we enter into this Chinese zodiac calendar and the year of 2026, which will start February 17th. And if you're feeling that kind of like, let's go energy, heck yeah, right now, if you're ready to move, to claim, to build, to finally do the thing, well, then this episode is for you. But if you're sitting on the sidelines and you're wondering, well, I don't even know if I believe in this Chinese zodiac calendar thing, or I'm not sure I have the energy because 2025 really just kicked me in the pants. And you might also be thinking, I don't even know what the fire energy would do for me. You're also in the exact right place. So here's what I know. Fire needs oxygen. It absolutely needs oxygen. And if you're about to burn as bright as you've ever burned, then we need to talk about where that oxygen is going to come from. So in this episode, you are going to learn 3 things. First, why the fire horse energy is different from any other momentum and what that means for you and how you can show up today. Second, the 3 phases of fire and how to recognize which phase you might be in right now, because each one is going to require something different of you. And then number 3, how to identify what your oxygen actually is. The things inside of your hula hoop that will sustain your fire without burning you out. We are not here to burn ourselves out. We are here to thrive and to shine bright. So let's dive in. This really is the fire horse moment. And let me give you a little context. In the Chinese zodiac, we moved from the year of the snake in 2025. We did all the shedding. We grew, we outgrew, we got rid of some things that no longer served us. Now, 2026, it is not just a horse year. It is a fire horse year. And those elements mixed with the animal only come around every 6 years, where the animal itself will come around every 12 years. So the last time that we had a fire horse year was really not in any of our lifetimes. It was in 1966. And so most of us weren't even born then. And if we were too little to know what was happening. So here's what we need to know about this fire horse energy. It is not gentle. It is not slow and steady wins the race. That is not what we are dealing with. This is intense, passionate, focused, fierce, action. This is the year that asks you to go all in. Take the leap, take the plunge, do the thing, stop waiting, start moving. This is the year, right now. There has been something on your heart. There has been something on your mind, some sort of desire. And you've been like, someday, when the kids are grown, when this happens, when I pay off the house, when I, this is the day. This is the year. I don't know about you, but I am definitely feeling it. There is a pull and a readiness that I am just like, I'm done trying to make it all prepared, make it all perfect. And I am just like in this let's go energy. But here's the thing about fire, especially the kind of fire that will burn really, really hot. It absolutely requires something that will sustain it. Because what's going to happen? It will burn out. And so what sustains fire? Oxygen. So we need oxygen to sustain this roaring flame that we have. I want to tell you about an experience I had. It was about a year ago where I led a retreat of amazing, brilliant women. We all went to Canyon Ranch in Lenox, Massachusetts. And one of the sessions that was facilitated, I actually hired one of the Canyon Ranch experts to come and talk to us about the ancient rituals of fire. And in this process, we all wrote something down at the end and we put it in the fire that it was something that we were all ready to release. And as we sat in that circle and this, kind of expert woman from Canyon Ranch led our session, she talked about the 3 phases of fire. There's the ignition, the spark, the moment when something catches. And maybe that's an idea or a decision or a commitment, but something ignites. And we all know that can be paper to a lighter, wood to a match. Ancient times, it was a rock. They used rocks to create that spark. Now, we also can talk about the middle part. So you've got the spark, the fire's going. Then there's the middle part where it's a roaring fire. And this thing is in full blaze. There's heat, there's light, and there's this undeniable presence of something just burning so brightly. This is where most of us want to live. This is the visible part, the part that people see and admire. It's where you toast your s'mores when you're at a campfire in this bright burning fire. Then the third part is the embers. It's the part we don't really talk about. It's this quiet glow, this aftermath, the heat that endures when the flames burn down. The transformation's already happened, and now that transformation settles deep into the coals. The embers are where something very transformational has a living proof. Now, most people think that the embers mean it's over, but the embers are actually where the deepest heat lives. The embers can reignite, and many forest fires, as we know, are caused by embers. And they can burn you just as badly as the flame. So embers are really proof that something very real has happened. Okay, here's my question for you. Where are you in the cycle right now? Are you waiting for something to spark? Has something sparked? Is the fire roaring? Are you in full flame? Or are things starting to die down into the embers? It's important to kind of distinguish, Has something caught fire for you? Did you make a decision, take a leap, start something that finally feels aligned? If so, you're really in that exhilarating, slightly terrifying space of, holy smokes, is this really happening? If you're in the roaring fire phase, are you moving fast? Are you building momentum? Are you feeling that full intensity of this engagement, this heat, this something's right at your heels and it's going to get you, so you got to keep on going. Maybe you're in the thick of execution, of showing up, of being fully on. If so, you know exactly what I'm talking about when I say fire horse energy. This is the kind of energy that we're talking about. And then the last piece would be, are you in the embers? Maybe something significant has already happened. You made this transition. You did the hard thing. You changed something fundamentally. And now you're in that quieter space where the work is integrating and setting in. You're soaking it up and absorbing it. And it's becoming part of who you are rather than just what you accomplished. Important. There's no wrong answer here, right? It doesn't matter where you're at. What's important is knowing where you are that matters, because each phase is going to need something different. Fire needs oxygen. And this is where we get to the heart of today's episode. No matter which phase you're in, fire absolutely needs oxygen to sustain itself. And without it, it can't roar. It can't be this big, beautiful flame that sustains you and moves you into transition. Instead, it's going to consume itself and die out. When I talk about oxygen, I'm not talking about any sort of external validation or achievement or next level or next goal. I'm talking about what is inside of you, how you show up and care for yourself. This is really my hula hoop principle. And I've talked many times about this. If you're new here, let me just quickly explain. If you're standing inside of a hula hoop, what you control is inside the hula hoop. That's it. You only control you, not anybody or anything outside of the hula hoop. Yet we spend the majority of our time trying to control all the people, places, and things outside of the hula hoop. So if you're in the hula hoop, you're going to be able to really control things like your own self-awareness, listening to your own intuition, grounding yourself when you feel anxious, rest that actually restores you, connection that fills you up. Who are those people in your life that actually fill you up? Boundaries that protect your energy, the practices that keep you tethered to yourself, even when everything around you might be moving fast. What are the ways that you come back to you? Because it is so vitally important. All the time, anytime, but especially when you're dealing with this energy that is going to be fast and furious. So this is kind of the unglamorous work of making sure you are breathing oxygen into yourself. And nobody's really posting about this on LinkedIn or talking about it, but this is the work that doesn't really look like achievement. It doesn't even look praiseworthy, but it is so essential to getting you where you want to go so that your goals aren't just someday goals. They're actually on their way to you. So here's what I've learned the hard way. And I've been so transparent about this. You can't sustain fire horse intensity on fumes. You just can't. You can't keep showing up, keep building, keep leading, keep creating if you're not also tending to what fuels you on the inside, to what fills you up, to what is going to be able to sustain you. Let me tell you what I see as starvation to fires all the time. The belief that rest is for later, that you'll slow down when you hit the goal, when you make the money, when you close the deal, when you finish the project, when you get the promotion, when you get through the busy season. Except when you get to those markers, there's always another marker. There's always another thing you're chasing. And so what happens? You compromise yourself. You compromise your rest. And that habit of saying yes to everything because you're afraid you'll miss out, you're afraid you won't be the favorite one, you're afraid that somebody else will step in and do it better, and then what will happen? It just keeps becoming this hamster wheel, and it pulls these yeses out of you when you really mean to say no, because what happens is those yeses pull you further away from what really matters to you. So we end up in this comparison game, watching what everyone else is doing and using that as some sort of barometer of whether you're doing enough or not. And that is the lie. That is the absolute lie. That becomes the performance of busyness. And it gets really confusing with progress. And we don't want to confuse the two. Just because you're in constant motion doesn't mean that your motion has meaning. It doesn't. So all of that is just going to starve out your fire. It's going to squash it, as though maybe you even poured a bucket of water on it. All that oxygen just gets used up and you won't fuel your flame. So what feeds it? What really feeds it? Knowing yourself well enough to recognize when you're running on empty before you crash, before you end up in the ambulance, before you have some catastrophic event or medical diagnosis, trusting your intuition when it's telling you to pause, pivot, or say no. Having practices that really just are going to ground you. Meditation, journaling, gratitude, yoga, Pilates, like the things that could just get you back into your body so that you even know that you're human. And so whatever that is for you, creativity, connection, whatever actually works for you, do that. Do that thing. And then protecting your space for things that fill you up and not just all the check boxes of the to-do list. So being honest about what you need, and even if that is not convenient. Right. So that's your oxygen. That's what's going to allow you to sustain this intensity without burning out. Next, we're going to talk about how do you figure out what your oxygen actually is. So start by asking a few simple questions of yourself. What makes me feel more like myself? Not more productive, not more impressive, not more like the version of me I actually want to be, but what just makes me feel more like myself? For me, it's really low-key Sundays. I have a slow start to my day. I stay in my jammies, especially now that it's wintertime. I have a nice homemade breakfast that really just fuels me. And then I do some puttering around the house, and always in the afternoon, every Sunday, as long as I'm in town, I go and see my 95-year-old father-in-law. And there's something very grounding about that for me. And those sorts of activities, spending time with my husband, being on the couch, Friday night movie nights, I started those when my children were little. They're grown. They're not even home anymore. And I'm still on the couch every Friday night. Rarely am I out on a Friday night. So those are the things that really matter and restore you when you feel depleted. And you can ask yourself, what am I avoiding because it feels too slow, too quiet, too simple, but that you know deep down you need it? Where are you leaking energy on things that don't actually matter to you, but you've convinced yourself somehow that they should? Maybe those things just need to go altogether. So these aren't really easy questions, and the answers might surprise you. And, your oxygen just might look different than somebody else's, and that's okay. You can need what you need to need. So if you're serious about sustaining this fire and this fire horse energy, which I really think you are, you have to get honest about what is actually going to feed the fire and sustain the fire for you. My hula hoop, is something that I talk a lot about on this podcast. And it's really the circle of what you control. So remember, you cannot control all of these external things that are happening in the world. You can't control other people. You can't control their opinions. You can't control how fast or how slow things move. You can't control the economy or the weather, or whether things show up on your timeline or not. But you can control how you tend to yourself. You can control the actions that you take. You can control your mindset, your perspective, your attitude. And you can control whether you're listening to your intuition or you're overriding it, whether you're feeding your fire or you're starving it. And so that's your hula hoop for today. And in a year like this, a year of the fire horse that's asking you to go all in and chase those dreams so that there's no regrets, the hula hoop is going to matter more than ever. Because the fire that you're building, it's going to require everything you've got. And you need to make sure you've actually got it. So here's what I want you to walk away with today. If you're feeling that fire horse energy, that readiness, that intensity, that's let's go momentum, just honor it. It's rare energy. 60 years, we haven't seen it. And it's powerful, and you can use it to do something extraordinary. But also, tend to your oxygen, tend to yourself. Do not wait until you are depleted and withered and grouchy and angry and just unfit to be around for yourself or others. Don't assume that you can sustain this sort of power, this sort of energy, this sort of fire without also doing the quiet work of tending to yourself. Fire needs oxygen, and you get to decide where that oxygen comes from. Thanks for being here. If this episode resonated with you, I'd love to hear about it. Send me an email, lori@loripine.com. Share it with someone who needs to hear exactly what we talked about today, or leave a review or a 5-star rating. I hope that you will come back again next week where we talk more about the power of joy in leadership. Glad to be doing it with you. Until next time.